Hi everyone, I'm Janeen Thompson Brown, and I'm going to give you a little bit of information before I jump into my mini lecture. I'm actually in Las Vegas, Nevada with my husband and looking out at the strip, and so it's a little unconventional today in how I'll be delivering my mini lecture to you, but I've had a few technical difficulties here in the lovely planet Hollywood. So my husband is taping for me. He's also acting as my my classroom. He's going to be representing my students. So with that said, here we go. Again, my name is Janeen Thompson Brown, and during the last week of October, we will be studying the short story, The Landlady. This short story would normally be taught at an 8th grade level, but since we have such an advanced class, we should be able to look at all the elements of the story, and I'll be providing help and insights to you when you need it. So let me tell you a little bit about the story itself. Author Roald Dahl opens the short story, The Landlady, with the description of young, innocent Billy traveling to Bath, and Bath is located in England, and he's going there for work. In the beginning of the story, he describes Billy as wanting to do everything briskly, like all successful businessmen. So the writer puts the reader in Billy's mind as Billy considers where to stay the night for that first night. He is trying to make up his mind between a congenial pub. So here's where I want to kind of test you guys on where your vocabulary might be with this story. So would anyone like to tell me what a congenial pub might mean? Take a guess.
I've got an idea, Mrs. Brown.
Yes.
I think congenial means kind of happy or lively.
Uh-huh.
Maybe
Yeah.
it has sort of a comfortable sound.
Yeah, absolutely. And a pub in England is not only a bar as we know it in America, but it also could have rooms for guests to stay overnight, and could kind of think about it like a really cheap motel with a pub. So he's trying to decide between this congenial pub and a boarding house that might have peculiar smells. So a boarding house is kind of like a bed and breakfast, but not as nice. And the word peculiar comes in here. So anybody want to try and explain what peculiar might mean in this sentence?
It sounds to me like maybe sort of something that's kind of odd or strange.
Yes, yes.
Maybe a little disturbing.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So he's considering this peculiar our boarding house with the smells. So the author gives us some clues about the landlady character as he describes her as being slightly dotty. And the word dotty is spelled D-O-T-T-Y, not a word we would normally hear in America. So let's give it a go. And anybody want to try and jump in and tell me what dotty might mean?
Maybe it's kind of like crazy.
Yes.
A little strange also.
Yes, yes, yes. If something is dotty in England, it could even be peculiar, odd. But yeah, very good. Yeah, you have a good handle on that. And then he states that she springs to open the door when the bell has rung like a jack in the box. The writer goes on to create suspense as he describes the boarding house in various parts of the story. He begins with describing the sign in the window that seems to pull Billy in, almost like forcing him in. And Billy looks through the window and he sees a bird and a dog curled up by the warm hearth. You will notice that the writer intentionally uses a lot of descriptive language, which we will discuss more in our exercises, and he wants to create tension in our minds. As he begins the story, he states, "The air was deadly cold and the wind like a flat blade of ice against his cheek." So this is pretty advanced vocabulary. So deadly cold and flat ice actually means that death has either happened or is about to occur. So we're looking at a pretty dark story here. The landlady also adds to this suspicion by saying, "You see, it isn't very often that I have the pleasure of taking a visitor into my little nest." So think about little nest for a moment. And what do you think she might mean by that?
Well, it sounds kind of like a scary place, but maybe a special place, so
Yeah,
kind of
so
mysterious.
definitely mysterious. But,
Sounds scary.
It absolutely sounds scary. But also, a nest can be comfortable. So, there's a feeling of comfort that he has going in, definitely. The way in which the plot is structured builds tension for the reader as the story unfolds. Billy starts to notice clues, like the absence of other people's belongings. He notices that there are only 2 names in the guest registry that seem somehow familiar. And then he discovers that the pets that he saw from the outside, the bird and the dog, are actually not live creatures. They're stuffed. So things are getting darker. This is one of the themes we will explore, the way that the writer leads us to the conclusion and the end of the story, and that sometimes things are just not what they appear. In our lesson, we will look at the theme of foreshadowing. This is a more advanced way of writing, and it can also be described as a forewarning. The writer uses fairly advanced vocabulary, I will tell you that now, and we will learn it. And also, we're going to explore the differences between the way that people in England talk versus how people in America speak. Although we use the same English language, there can be major differences, like we talked about earlier with Dottie and Peculiar and the pub. We'll work individually, reading the story and learning the vocabulary words. And we'll also work in groups, exploring homework and essay questions, themes of the story, and the writing strategy, again, of foreshadowing. And lastly, since this is Halloween week, and we're working with a pretty creepy story, we'll have some fun activities to end the lesson on Halloween Day. So that concludes my mini lecture for today. Thanks for watching, and you can find more information in my literature unit.